But good morning. Welcome, everyone, here at Orange County Realtors. It's a pleasure to be able to be your host for today's training today. My name is Lucas Da Silva. I am your training specialist from Lone Wolf. And actually, let me go ahead, just make sure that my screen sharing is enabled here for us so we can see that title card. Um, there we go. And my team on the admin side, if we could just confirm that we can see the title card. I think it unshared for a second there.
You're all good.
All right, perfect. I thank you very much. Well, appreciate everyone for hopping on. My name is Lucas Da Silva. I am a training specialist from the company Lone Wolf. And we're a good partner with Orange County Realtors to support you guys with some excellent tools that you would definitely have already used, in your real estate careers. And we're super excited to be able to introduce you guys to an overview of relationships. It's a really great CRM that really puts in what a 2026 real estate agent needs when it comes to getting things started in a customer relationship tool. I'm super excited to be able to walk you guys through it. Just quick housekeeping items as folks are joining on. As you'll see in the chat, the session is currently being recorded. And of course, it'll be available on YouTube for everyone to watch afterwards as well. But otherwise, appreciate your time for joining on. And we'll make sure that we also address any questions via the Q&A as they come along here too. So if you have any questions, enter those into Q&A. We'll be happy to support you. But just to give you guys an overview, what we're going to be focusing on today and getting a walkthrough with is the relationships CRM. The relationships is a great tool. We're going to go over an intro for it, but just to highlight on our agenda what we'll cover for you, what we really want to make sure you get some full exposure to as to what this system is capable of is one, of course, giving you the introduction of what relationships can do. But then we'll actually go into a live demo together. We'll walk through the platform and we'll show you, for example, where you can manage your contacts, and we'll kind of go through the system itself. But then we'll really highlight some areas that relationships does stick out, such as being able to communicate through a unified email and text inbox, being able to streamline your workflow through automations, being able to sync your Gmail or Outlook into your inbox so that you can send emails and receive them, but also be able to monitor your inbox from there. And not to mention as well, being able to leverage AI powered features for your outreach when composing those emails. Uh, Now, one other aspect I'll mention here too, it's not on the topic list, but we'll also highlight that deep integration that Relationships has with your Transact application that you guys also have available. So we'll kind of show you how easy that connects when you're ready to work through that flow with a prospective client. So just to kind of get things started right away, Relationships itself is one platform, one CRM that's designed to turn tasks into everyday lasting client relationships. Really big components with relationships is, of course, one, not only does it have a good contact database for you to keep track of your contacts, but as well, it also has those automations and AI powered enablements to help you manage the busy work. Whether it's sending reminders, creating personalized messages, it can be handled in a matter of moments, and it can free your time to build client connections elsewhere. It also has a really deep integration with Transact, so it almost feels like you're using the same system whenever you're actually going through the process of new lead all the way through actually creating the transaction itself. And ultimately, it's built with your association in mind. So ideally helping you simplify your daily workflow, helping you keep client follow-ups consistent, and it helps really standardize and manage better relationships as a result. So what we're really going to focus on our demo today and our training is really highlighting those components so you can see how easy relationships is to use. So just to give us a quick overview, whenever you are accessing relationships, I always like to point out that there's a Lone Wolf Foundation platform where Transact and Relationships would be at the top apps front and center. But whenever you're in Relationships itself, this is actually going to be the home dashboard that you'll arrive on. We'll give it a moment to load here for us to see. Now, immediately, one first thing we notice when we come into the system is here's all your contacts, right? But not only just a list of your contacts within a simple table, but you're going to see some big stat callouts immediately from your contacts page that highlight, hey, how many new leads have you brought in from the last 30 days? How many of your leads have birthdays coming up? How many open opportunities, potential deals do you have working that you can turn and convert to a transaction? How many contacts do you have that have partial contact details? And even as well, how many emails that you sent from your outreach have been opened over the last 30 days? Now, we can show you the process on adding contacts. It's fairly easy. But you can actually add simple contacts by just clicking the new contact button, where you'd fill in the base details to get this started. And you can even bulk import your contacts all at once if you're bringing it in from another CRM tool that you're using. Not to mention, too, whenever you actually have a contact created within relationships, here's the actual contact record you see. And there's so much you can visualize with it, including, for example, and let's actually pull one that's filled out so we could see some details here. Not look at a blank one just yet, but let's pull up Mr. Sam 2 over here. So whenever you pull up a contact, for example, you're going to see a full profile that you can interact with. Contact details about your contact itself. You can create tags over here on the bottom left and even add associated addresses. Make any notes that you'd like about the contact so that it can be held in your activity. And then as well, this is where you can easily, from the record, send out an email to your contact or send a text. And I'll even show you how to actually connect your inbox so that your inbox is already automatically synced. So you can send emails directly from relationships and you don't have to go to your inbox separately. And then all the items here on the right are an amazing asset to have whenever you're looking through your contacts, mainly because you can set up to-do items, any tasks that you need to accomplish, manage your calendar so that you have your events that you're needing to attend to or address, creating deal opportunities that you know are coming up so that this distincts and differentiates this contact from a new lead or just someone that you have in your contact list to an actual deal or potential opportunity that you're looking to work. And not to mention, your transactions are also available in the record. So if you have a deal in Transact already created, or you need to create a deal in Transact, you can start that directly from your contact record as well. It's quite robust. But other navigation, just to highlight for us here while we're in this menu, top navigation bar is all you'll need to manage your relationships modules. So you'll see, for example, you have your to-do menu. All your tasks, all your to-do list items are going to be housed in this menu. So if you have anything due today, it'll highlight what's due for you today. Anything for you that may be overdue, you'd be able to see them and which contact it's associated with, as well as any things like upcoming, things that don't have due dates, or even things that you've already completed. Now, you also have your calendar in here as well, which once you integrate your Outlook or Gmail in this case, you'd be able to even see your calendar events synced in here as well. But otherwise, you'd be able to manage your events, whether it's an upcoming CMA, you have a showing over the weekend, you need to meet with your client to discuss a potential offering that you want to provide, scheduled phone calls, you'd be able to create any event that you'd like, and you'd be able to relate it to a particular contact that you're working. You also are going to have the communicate section. And I want to show you something really easy here. Now, I don't want to overhammer the nail, but what I can definitely show you here that makes things easy is whenever you click on the communicate, it's going to give you 4 options here. You'll notice it says inbox, emails that are sent, emails that are scheduled out, and even an area where you'll have your email and text templates that you can manage. So in the inbox section, as soon as you click on it, whenever you get brought to this menu, you notice that immediately when I selected it, a pop-up came up and said, hey, go ahead and sync your Gmail or go ahead and sync your Microsoft account so that you can have your inbox synced to your relationships account immediately. And let's actually work through that process. So I have a test Gmail account that you can use, so that we can go through. So I'll sign in with Gmail and I'll go through that process. I sign into my Gmail account. I put in my password. It'll ask if I can give if Google is asking if I can give relationships permission for me to send my contact details and sync my data, including my contacts, my calendar events, and my emails. And as soon as I approve all 3 and continue, within a few minutes, you will see here that the full inbox will be carried over. So not only can I review any emails that are coming in to my current inbox, but as well, I'd be able to review and reply, forward, flag, mark as unread, like you're managing your own personal inbox as well. And once that's integrated, then that process becomes super easy because then what can happen next? I can easily either send a message to my contact from here, send an email or an outreach if I would like, or if I am in that contact section and I happen to have one of my contacts open that I'm working with. Well, in this case, if I needed to send them a quick email, instead of having to go to that email section, I can just pull it up right in the contact and send them an email from here. Now, speaking of email, one thing that's very amazing within this email module as well is not only that can you compose those emails, right? For example, let's just say we're going to highlight this to be new buyer follow-up, or let's just say, thank you for your time. You can add a body for whatever you'd like here and utilize the formatting tools available. But what's really nice, and I think this is what's going to really save your time, is you're going to notice there is already an AI component built in to your emails. So if you needed relationships to draft an email message for you about whatever outreach that you'd like, you can go ahead from the AI tool here, acknowledge that you're going to use the AI tool, and just give it a prompt for what you want it to say. Let's say, for example, this is a contact, this is a potential seller that I'm supporting, and we are in that process of setting up a listing presentation. Well, then in that case, I can write here, compose an email where I am reaching out to this seller to schedule a listing presentation for this Friday. As soon as I hit the little airplane icon, relationships is going to go ahead and take us to that next step where it will draft that email out for us. And so in this case, not only does it have the email composed, but if it doesn't look right or if I need it to adjust itself, I can also have it try again or ask it to refine it. So let's just say, please, I'm going to make a one slight adjustment here. Please adjust including Friday's date, which is 7/10/2026. I can make it have those adjustments updated. And then when I'm ready to go, I just select insert. It'll put that section in there where, in this case, if I needed to format it accordingly, I can go ahead and do so. But you'll notice here that it already has my subject line ready for me. I can go ahead and format it, reformat it if I need to. And a lot of the times here as well, it'll format it in the way that you need to. So if you need it to recompose with the proper formatting, you just tell it, hey, format it the correct way, please. But in this case, once you actually draft your message, you can go ahead and either send it immediately, or you can schedule it out to be sent maybe on Monday at 10 o'clock if you need it, or in this case, maybe Thursday in the afternoon if needed. But along with that too, you'll also see that you can save your efforts as a template. So if you wanted to save this style of message to be sent later, well, then fantastic. It can go ahead and do that, and you can access that as a template for future use. And you may even notice here too, what's really neat is whenever you have the AI tool actually draft your messages, it's also going to include these little tags. So even though you have a custom contact name that you may be sending this out to, maybe you're going to send this out to more than one contact, it's going to put in email tags so that this variable, this little code here, will be replaced by that meaning. So where it says contact first name, it would say Dear Sam. Where it says your full name, it would have your full name. Where it says your email signature, it would pull from your email signature that you can add in your account settings. And when you're ready to send it, just go ahead and hit send. Not only will that email be drafted and sent, but it will also be available in your activity shortly as well. So again, that email composure component is pretty neat. And you can always monitor that in your communicate section. So if we go into our inbox menu, we can see again all the emails that we've received. I can go to my sent menu where I can see all the emails that I'm sending. I can also see the emails that are scheduled. And most importantly, you have your templates menu. So if you already want to reference some pre-built templates that Relationships already has put together for you, I definitely recommend to take a look because there's tons of them. Whether it's a Let's Connect, whether it's a buyer follow-up, a seller follow-up, next steps, welcome emails, there's open house follow-ups, holidays, whatever the case may be, you have tons of different references. And if you're trying to find specific ones, not only can you search by the template, but you can even filter by the particular category of your templates too. And you can even make your own. And that not only applies to emails, but you can also make text templates too. So if you enable your texting in your account settings, which I'll show you via easy texting, you'd be able to send out text directly from Relationships, where not only can you send the text out from the contact record like we just saw, but you can also house those templates, not only organizing by category, but referencing those texts if you needed to edit, update, or send out any resources at any time. Now, one really great aspect in the navigation I'll mention here on Relationships is also the automations. Now, automations you can make as easy or as complex as needed. But the idea behind automations is that if you want Relationships to help you with managing tasks, to set up a specific workflow that works for you, whether it's creating tasks, adding tags, creating events, scheduling events, setting up follow-ups for you, or even sending out emails, you'd be able to get those set up. And what's really nice is you'll already have automation templates available in your account. So if you wanted to see what that automation is, just review the title and the description. For example, the open house follow-up task, where it says here, every time an open house happens on your calendar, you're going to get a task to follow up with your attendees. Or on the contact's birthday, a template-based email with a birthday category will be sent to the contact. And as long as you enable it, that automation will be set up. But if you want to get particular, you can actually create your own automations too. You just click New Automation. And if you've ever used tools like Zapier or other automation tools, the process is not as complex as this may look. All it involves is just a trigger and an action. What do you want it? What do you want to kick off what it's going to do? Like, what do you want to start its process? And what do you want the system to do? Now, in this case, I'll highlight just a really basic one. If I add a trigger, I have a bunch of options I can choose from here. But let's just say anytime I have a new lead, I want a welcome email to be sent. So in this case, I can have it start when a contact is created, or I can even indicate when a contact is a new lead. Then I could establish the criteria. What do I want to happen? If I put the category as lead on that contact, I want the system to send an email. And so you just select next and select what you want the system to do. In this case, we'll select send an email. And as soon as I choose that option, it'll ask, what email do I want to send? It gives me the opportunity to draft it, or I can use AI to help me write it as well. And I can even use my email templates. So if I already have an email template ready to go, or one of the pre-built options, I can go ahead and pick from the following. That way, when it's done, you'll see here it already sets it up for whoever that new contact email is. I can hit next and just give it a title. So I'm just going to give this welcome email to new leads as the title and give it a description. When a new lead is created, a welcome email will automatically send. And when I'm done, I just go ahead and save it. You'll see that option among my list here, welcome email to new leads. I can just turn that on so that the system will immediately create an email to send out to that new lead every time a new lead is created. It's pretty amazing. Now, with that said, before we go into a quick workflow that I'll show you so we can highlight how it integrates with Transact and what that's going to look like, I just wanted to mention too, if you do go to your initials up here on the top right corner, you will also see a settings menu. And this is not only where you can also set up your email settings if you wanted to integrate your Gmail and Outlook. But most importantly, this is also where you can set up your email signature. So if you needed to get that taken care of before you start sending your emails right away, definitely take advantage of it. And we're going to cover a couple of the other account settings later. But let's walk through a workflow together. So I gave you a quick navigation, right? We saw some of the cool components with relationships, but how does it actually feel from start to finish? Well, let's go through it. Let's say we're going to add a new contact. Let's say we got a new potential opportunity. Let's just call this contact Douglas Myers. We're going to give him a type for his contact details, and we'll just put in a quick email here. We'll give it a category. We're going to mark him as lead because I'm going to show you that automation coming in. You can indicate a lead source. So you have a preset lead sources, and if you don't see a lead source of where this lead actually came in from, you can create your own from here. Let's just say this was from a lunch and learn. You can make tags as well. It'll pull from any tags that you've already created, or you can create brand new ones by just typing them in. Let's just consider that Douglas is over here as a seller. And not only can I create the tag, but I can even give it a color if I wanted to put a specific color on it. I can make a note, new seller recently spoke about purchasing in the XYZ area. And then you can add other miscellaneous details like their address if it applies to. But for now, let's just go ahead and put in the basics. And as soon as I select Save Contact, we're going to have that Douglas Myers added into our list. And as soon as I go ahead and select that contact's name, we can get to work, right? What are we going to work with Mr. Douglas over here? Now, immediately, as soon as I go ahead and access his contact record, if I needed to indicate that he's a hot lead, someone that's ready to go and move forward, I can do so. Shortly, my automation should kick in where that initial email should set out. If I need to send a text, I can. But I have a couple things that I want to do. For example, I want to go ahead and put a to-do list item. And let's just say create new seller opportunity. We'll just call this a task. We can set a priority level. And now I have my task. I can also add an event on the calendar. We're going to meet up again. So let's just say we're going to have a listing presentation for, let's say, we do the specific address here. We'll put in the date. You can even send an invite if you needed to send it to Mr. Myers over here. And then when you're done, you go ahead and add your event. But I think the biggest area that's going to matter the most, whether you add tasks or events or not, is when you're managing this lead, you're going to have two functions here that are going to help, especially when you're utilizing Transact. And that's going to be your opportunities and your transactions. So let's say Mr. Douglas here is not ready to pull the trigger on a transaction. We have a listing presentation coming up. So that is definitely a potential opportunity to work a deal. So this opportunities menu that's in your contact record will allow you to set essentially a deal tracking for that potential lead. They're not signed up yet, but you want to at least make an indicator that this person is interested. So in this case, we can organize that opportunity, whether they're a buyer or a seller, and we would fill out the relevant details as we see it down below. Add in what is necessary, but not everything is required. And so we can start off, for example, by putting in the stage. Let's just say right now, we're not really under contract. We're kind of qualifying. We still need to have that presentation discussion. He's a warm lead right now. He wants to hear me out, but he's not ready to pull the trigger yet. And then I can start adding in his property details, especially if he's looking to sell his home. So I'll start adding in the details on his property. For the sake of our training, I'm just going to put in, one of the local listings here in PA, but it could also apply for your California listings, of course. And let's pull one in here. There we go. And as you're adding this information, You can even add in things like timing, when he's ready to go, any notes. And when you're done, the system's going to go ahead and categorize that you have an opportunity. And what's really nice here too is if you ever go into your Transact, you will see that opportunity in Transact too. So in fact, um, I'll show you really quick where you find it in Transact, and we're going to come right back into our contacts. Let's just make a quick switch over to Transact. And I want to show you that when you go into your Transact account and you see that deal tracker, there's Mr. Myers over here. There's his opportunity that we can continue to work from Transact if we needed to convert that opportunity into a transaction. Now, just jumping back into relationships, let's go back into that thought process. We're working with Mr. Myers. We have an opportunity ready for him. Let's say Friday's already passed. We did a great job with the CMA that we presented. He wants to go ahead and sign an agreement. Well, I can either start that transaction from this transactions tab, or even if I have my opportunity open, I can immediately scroll down to the bottom of the opportunity and you're going to see the option to start agreement. And here's the quick and seamless process that works here. If I select start agreement, it's going to ask me to move into my Transact account. And then I start that process of creating a transaction in Transact. So I can begin from here, right? This is a listing. I can import the listing data if I have that information available, which I do for the sake of this training. I can apply my template. Let's just say seller listing, list side training example. There we go. And I can go through that process of actually creating the transaction like we normally do within Transact. But here's what's nice about this. Once I create that transaction, it'll have that status, right, where we would be managing and working through the transaction itself. But when we're back in relationships, let's say we're still managing other clients and relationships, we're still needing to send out emails to Douglas, and we still need to reach out. If I go right back into that contacts contact record, not only can I continue to manage my communications directly within relationships, but you'll notice that that opportunity is now gone and has been converted into a transaction. So I can easily from here access the transaction to continue to work the deal, prepare the signing so we can have that right to represent agreement taken care of, and we get it and we get the process started and be able to get that monitoring, that overview still within the relationships tool itself. It's a relatively neat process. Now, with that said, a couple other things I just wanted to mention here for you. Just highlighting as we went through that workflow, you can see how easy Transact and relationships can work together. One thing I will mention just for everyone as you're getting your account set up, if you want to be able to integrate relationships with other tools, there is actually a connection that relationships has with Zapier. So if you use Zapier and you needed it to help you with connecting with tools like Zillow Tech Connect or Real Scout or Facebook lead ads, or you're trying to find other sources to help automatically bring leads into your relationship CRM, you can actually utilize their generative AI tool within Zapier. You just tell it what you want your relationships tool to connect with, and it can work on building out that automation for you. So it can just be as quick as a button, or you can actually search for your tools within the Zapier apps that are connected. It's relatively neat if you needed to get it connected that way. Along with that too, you also have the text settings. So if you want to enable texting, our texting provider is Easy Texting. You can set up an account in order to get your texting enabled for relationships, and it would just have the login for you to integrate with it. Now, of course, if you have any questions along those lines on account settings setup, feel free, add them into the chat or into the Q&A section. But definitely one thing I can tell you for sure, it's an easy to navigate tool, especially if you're looking to get your day started with managing those relationships, getting your deals done within Transact, and being able to see the information across those two different platforms. Now, of course, with the time we have, a biggest thing I like to highlight is, of course, CRMs are great, but the biggest thing to learn about CRMs is also the strategy. So biggest call I'll mention here is that on the top of your account, you'll see that there is a question mark icon that's going to have tons of resources for you to get things started right away. And that'll include things like getting started if you needed to get a checklist on how to get things kicked off right away within relationships, as well as being able to do things like watching a webinar, accessing quick training videos, guided workflows where you can have the system walk you through step by step on how to perform a particular action, which I think is pretty neat. And not to mention as well, we also have resource guides if you needed to access more written materials, so you understand the reasoning and the rules behind certain aspects within relationships itself. One other thing to mention here too as well, you'll also notice here that you'll have the contact support. So if you needed to access our support team, you had any questions, you can also reach out to the Lone Wolf support team for any support needs as well. And that can be related whether to relationships, Transact, or other Lone Wolf tools you may be using. And then just other things to mention here for you too. If you needed help with setting up the texting, it also has a walkthrough on how to connect and set up the easy texting capability. But otherwise, that's a pretty good walkthrough, at least a good overview of relationships. It's that easy of a tool, which is really nice. So I want to check with the group. Are there any questions that you guys have so far as it relates to relationships? You want to see something that we can walk through together while we're going through the training? Maybe something you'd want to give a try that we can walk through. Be happy to walk us through it or address any questions while we're kind of going through the system today. And while those questions are coming in, another thing I'll mention here for you too, maybe, for example, you haven't added your contacts into relationships yet. This is your first time. You want to be able to add them in. Maybe you use another CRM tool currently. I know my Lion Desk migration had already happened, so those contacts should have already migrated over. But in this case, let's say you're using a different tool. I always like to mention not only can you add one contact, but you can also add in more than one by importing them. That way, you can just pull in a CSV file. Typically, every time you export a CRM contact list, it'll be in a spreadsheet. You can have relationships accept that as the same spreadsheet that you exported. And you can go through that import process pretty easily. Let me actually pull up for you really quick what that would look like. So you pull in your contacts. It'll just ask you. The next step is just confirming, okay, here's the columns in your spreadsheet. Here's the preview of that information. Let's just make sure that that information matches what's going to be in the contact section. And what's really neat here is you're not going to be stumped if, let's say, there's a field or there's a section from your old CRM that relationships doesn't have. If you don't see something that relationships has, you can actually create that field to be added in your contacts so that they can be included. And that way you don't have any missed information. And when you go through that import process and everything is complete, in fact, let me, I think I have to make one slight update here for us to do that. Let's see here. Just got to do the postal code. There we go. Once you start that import process, you just give it a name. And you can assign a couple things to those contacts, right? If you want to give them a tag, let's just say transfer from old CRM. You can give it a lead source. You can give them a category. And then when you import those contacts over, relationships will handle the rest. You'd actually see an import history menu here where not only would you see if those imports were successful, but if you needed to undo the import at any time, you'd see an undo option. And you can see your history of what was imported successfully or if there were any errors, what those errors may have been. So it's relatively neat to be able to manage that in that aspect. Now, again, folks, want to be able to highlight any questions that you may have. Any other further questions from the group that I can support you guys with? Hopefully, this was a good overview for you to see how easy it is for relationships to use. While questions are coming in too, I just wanted to mention as well, aside from the question mark icon in your account, just wanted to call out to you that, of course, you have any questions from the Lone Wolf side. I know you guys are well taken care of from the Orange County Realtors team. But of course, if you have any questions, especially when it comes to transact, relationships, especially training questions, reach out to me and my team. That'll be the one on the bottom there, relationships.training@lwolf.com. If you have any use case questions, you need to walk through, maybe you're trying to figure out a specific way to set up an automation, and that could be a unique one. We can walk you through that too, so you can see it. But most importantly, when it comes to new systems, I'm all about, let's show the cool stuff. But most importantly, when you're ready to take advantage of it, go ahead and kick off with a few basic things like adding in contacts, like getting your email connected, adding your email signature in. Um, that way, once you're set up with those, you can start easily adding those contacts, start managing those relationships, and start being able to manage those from within Transact as well when you're ready to move them forward in transactions. But I'll stand by here for a few more questions if there's any questions. I know there was an ask about how do you get to the relationships app. I think Jackson gave a good answer in case the group didn't see it. Just being aware that you can actually access relationships alongside Transact. So if you already had access to Transact and you're kind of accessing it through zip form, the way that you guys are managing it today, just to give you that walkthrough, let's say you're accessing Transact from zip form, right? And you get brought up to the Transact page. Well, relationships is easy to access because all you do is just click the transact button over here on the top left corner, and you'll see relationships as an option for you to switch into. So you can easily jump into relationships and immediately start working through your contacts and start taking care of those relationships from here. Just to give that visual overview for the sake of our recording. Um,
Fantastic.
with that, thank you. But with that said, if there's any further questions, again, I'll stand by. Of course, we have a feedback portal as well if anyone needed to share any feedback for the sake of the training from our team. But I'll stand by for a few more minutes here. Is there any other questions that we can walk through together that you want to see when it comes to relationships while we're on the call together today?
Sure.
I have a
And if
question.
they're, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted, so what's the benefit of syncing your email inbox? So having all your messages, in relationships as well as in your email platform, why would I want to sync it there so that, is it just so I can manage it all in one place and my contacts automatically sync up and I can start, an opportunity from there? Or what would you consider the
Absolutely.
benefit?
It's a really good question. So I would say definitely the benefit is thinking about how we're utilizing our emails today. So the by having your contact or by having your email inbox already synced, it's more than just being able to see your inbox from your email platform being added into relationships, but it's also being able to separate those emails for particular contacts that you're sending and then being housed in their contact records. I know as us as real estate agents, you're managing a lot of emails multiple times a day, whether it's managing transactions, managing deals. And so when it comes to you actually sending out communications to your contacts, you can start from your inbox and you can start replying to your contacts from your inbox through within the CRM. But all those emails that you're sending to that contact, not only can you see it from your inbox in relationships, but you can also see it in their record. So you'd always be able to see the historical of every communication that you've actually sent out to that contact, whether it be email or text. Not to mention, too, it's also pretty nice if you are managing deals where if you needed to respond to maybe your title agent or you needed to respond to your mortgage loan officer, you don't have to leave the system to go into your Outlook or Gmail to provide that response. You'd be able to respond directly from within relationships, and that email response would be coming from your direct email to that party, even if they aren't a lead that's in your contacts, for example. So it helps you stay in the loop and it doesn't just silo only contact communication, but it lets you manage your deals, manage your book of business that you may be responding to on a daily basis. So super long-winded because I get passionate about these things, but hopefully you can see that definitely the benefit. You don't have to go to different systems. You'd be able to manage that all in one.
Right. No, that's great. That's great to be able to keep track of that communication log with that client, or like you said, the title and escrow.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can tell you from my experience as an agent, I did both sides. I was a real estate agent and a loan officer, and the amount of emails that I would typically get for the deals working, having a good CRM tool to help you keep that organized. So not only can you manage your inbox, but you also can have those emails tagged to your contact is such a big help. That way you know exactly what you sent to your client. There's nothing missed. You'd be able to track everything. And most importantly, you're already still in the system. If you needed to jump to the transaction and get things updated, you can easily do that too.
Awesome. I have one other question about automations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are those, so there was a lot of pre-made templates in there. Are
Mhm.
those kind of like email drip campaigns, or is it a one-time send? How would you compare that? I mean, I'm trying to just relate it to what I'm used to seeing in CRMs.
Sure. Let's talk about it a little bit. So, automations, it can be set up in a campaign format. Maybe you want to send scheduled emails out in that format too. You can absolutely do so within the automation function, but it goes beyond that too. If you need the system to automatically apply a tag to a contact based off of a specific variable, or have it immediately create an opportunity record so that you can get it into a transaction pretty quickly, it can take care of that for you, or even as we mentioned, creating an event. So, if I add a new seller, I can have an event created where, let's say, my typical workflow is try to get the CMA booking scheduled within, 72 hours. I can have it create like a task and then maybe have a dependency where once the task is created, as soon as I close that task, the event gets created and along with that. But when it comes to the campaign side of things, just to help you visualize that, that's definitely doable. Um, let's paint that picture, right? So let's say we go into a new automation. Let's make a simple like 3 touch point open house follow up campaign. Very easy. Let's start off right. I just click a new automation. I'll give it a name. Let's just call this open house follow up, and we'll give it a description. This will be a 3 touch point open house follow up for new visitors. Well, in this case, once I get started, it's again all about how you'd want the system to do things. So, for example, let's say in order to trigger this off, I need to have a starting point. So, let's say in order for me to get this started, I'm going to say anytime I create a tag for the contacts that I'm adding into the system, saying that they're an open house lead, right? I'm going to have the system immediately start that automation. So let's start off with when a tag is added to a contact. I'll hit next, and it's going to ask, okay, what kind of tag are we talking about? So I'll go ahead and start. The tag name is going to equal to, and you can choose from your following list options. It could be buyer, seller. In this example, I would have maybe created one that would say open house lead. But let's just say I'm going to put in here first time buyer for now, just for the sake of it. Now, once I choose that tag, this is the tag that's going to trigger this automation. I can select next, and then I can tell the system, okay, if a tag is added, what's the next step? I'm going to have it send an email. And then we get started. It'll just hit next again. And then we can either write the email, pick from our templates, or you can use the AI tool. But I'm going to use the AI tool to start. So let's just say create an open house follow up email for 123 Main Street. And I'll have it compose it. Once it writes out the email, I can insert and start formatting accordingly so that it works out the way it needs to. There we go. And let me go ahead and take that subject line. There we go. And once I have that email drafted the way I needed to, whether I'm pulling from a template, whatever the case may be, then at that point, I can go ahead and have that to send it to the contact email. So whoever this contact who has that tag applied, it's going to send this email to. And I'm going to go ahead and select next. Now, at that point, my automation is simple, right? When I create a tag, whatever the tag may be, it'll send an email. But let's say I'm not done. After that first email is sent, I can continue. So I just click the little plus sign. And once that first email is sent, I can go ahead and set up the next one. I can add a delay. Let's just say we're going to give it 2 days. And then at that point, the next step would be once I send the email, it's going to wait 2 days. And then I can pick the next action, which would be send the next email. So this will be the second touch point. So this, let's just say, just following up from your 123 Main Street visit. And again, you can compose it, pull from your templates, have AI do it. So let's have a second follow-up email touch point for 123 Main Street. And it'll have the system compose an email. So perfect. Hey, I wanted to follow up regarding the property at 123 Main Street. If you have any questions or would like to schedule another viewing, feel free to reach out. Pretty good, pretty standard. And notice it already handled the formatting properly here too, which is great. So in this case, we go ahead, we start with that second touch point. Again, I'll make sure it sent it to the contact email. And now we're done. So now we have 2 emails sent, right? Well, as soon as the contact tag is added, the first email is sent. It'll wait 2 days. It'll send the second email. Then I can do the same thing again. We're going to add another delay. Let's just say another, let's say 1 day, or let's stick with the 2-day format, 2 days. And then we do it again, add another email. So we'll do our third touch point now. Now, in this case, you'll notice here that I don't have to stick to email, right? I can also stick to sending a text if I want to send a text. I can make a different change if I need the system to create an opportunity or update the record. But for the sake of our 3 touch points, let's just say I'm going to send a text this time. So I'll click send a text. So in this section, I can go ahead and compose the text, or I can pull from my text templates as well, which you'd be able to have here along with it. And let's just say I'm going to choose this example. As soon as I finish this up, I have my 3 touch points, right? Starting point being, as soon as I add a tag, that first email is going to be sent. The system will wait 2 days. It'll send the second email, then it'll wait 2 days again, and it'll send the third email or the text that you're choosing. But whenever that is set up, all you have to do is go ahead and enable it to turn it on and hit save. And that way, moving forward, once that automation is established, like we just set up, all I would need to do is just go to my contacts, and anytime I'm adding new leads, or let's say among this group, let's just say these 3 were new open house leads, I can just go ahead and label them all with the appropriate tag. And then the system will go ahead and trigger that automation.
Oh,
And now I don't have to send any more emails. I set it up one time, automation's done. Now in my workflow, every time I run an open house and I create that tag for them, it'll send those 3 touch points the way I set it up.
okay. That's very cool. So it's basically the automations are creating a trigger to, get something out, some kind of communication out to your leads or clients or contacts, right? Is that kind of how to look at
Yeah,
it?
that definitely can do the automation on the communication. But one thing I always like to point out too is it can do more than that as well. Whether it be, um, having whatever that trigger point being, but it can support with sending an email. It can create tasks for you. It can update a piece of the contact record. So let's say if a contact decided to opt out of communications and you want to make sure that it's an updating a note that says, do not reach out. They don't wish to be contacted, or you have it create an opportunity for you, or send a text, or even that delay. You can have the system run any of these automations beyond just sending emails, but helping you keep your workflow as well for what you are looking to manage on your day to day.
Okay, awesome. And one other quick question about contacts. Can you have a contact in here with the same email address? I was running into an
Yeah.
issue with that.
Where you have a contact with
Yeah,
more than
so
one contact with the same email. Is that what your
yeah,
issue was?
a lot of times people have, let's say there's just two people who live together or a husband and wife or something, they're sharing an email address. And that was I was just going with kind of like a husband and wife sharing an email address, and I was entering them in there in the contacts. And it said that I already had that email address in use.
Mm.
So I wasn't sure if that was how it was set or if I was doing something wrong.
No, that's completely okay. Let me look at our rules really quick just to verify that for you. I believe it would have to have a separate contact, but let me see what that could establish with that side of things. So bear with me 1 second, and I can get
Okay.
you that answer. Let me just pull this up really quick. You know what? It's in here. Yeah, I believe you have to set it up separately. So let me just look in here. Okay. It says here, it doesn't state it specifically, but if it's give you an error that they can't share the contact, in that case, the email would need to be separate. The workaround I've found with that too is, and this is just something I've done in my experience with utilizing different CRM tools. If you want to maintain that it's the same email, what you could also do is you can add a specific differentiator in the email that could still send it to the same inbox. Like, for example, let's just say Douglas has a wife, right? And that is Diane Myers, but they use the same email that they're managing everything. If I already had Diane in the contact, then I could go ahead and create a new contact and just go, or create a new contact and do D Myers plus two or plus spouse, and that way it can still be a separate one, but still be able to share it. But if you want me to get you, I can get some more written documentation on that question specifically, Leslie, so that we can make sure that you have that workflow. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I definitely recommend you guys do for sure is as you add those contacts in, definitely add in those contacts like birthdays and anniversaries, because that's what relationships will do really well with is you can again trigger out for it to send emails out on their birthdays, or at least highlight those specific events right on your stats page. So again, you may have a contact list of 300 to multiple thousands of contacts, but it'll let you know when there's those special events that you should be aware of, so you can set the proper communications, stay top of mind for them. But awesome. A lot of good coverage, a lot of good questions. Any other questions from the group? Anyone from the chat, in the Q&A, or anyone from the admin team?
This is all great. I think if there aren't any other questions, we have some more time. Just gonna just talk a little bit about how Transact connects into relationships a little bit, just about like the integration between the opportunities and starting agreements. If there's nothing else that you wanted to talk about in that vein of how the opportunities and the relationships kind of connect each other in terms of transactions.
Yeah, and I can revisit back into Transact too, right? So as we were mentioning before as well, with when you create those opportunities like we did in that example with Douglas,
Yeah.
anytime you add an opportunity in relationships, whenever you go to Transact, in that deal tracker tab that you see at the top, you'll see that the relationships opportunities will pull in here for where you see that are labeled warm and hot prospects. So whether you have a warm or hot prospect from the opportunities that you created in relationships, they'll be in your Transact from within Transact itself, and you don't need to go back to relationships to convert it. You could actually just go ahead and select the opportunity that you're working. Let's just say it's David Jones over here. Um, and you can either continue to update those details about him or just select start agreement to get that transaction started. And you can begin that process. At that point, as we mentioned before, once you create the transaction and the transaction has been started, moving forward, the opportunity in relationships will no longer show as an opportunity, but it will now show as a transaction. So essentially, that would show successfully that you've converted it from opportunity to transaction, and you can access the transaction record in Transact from relationships. And that's where we can see that if we were to go back into relationships for a moment, when we pull up any contact, which I'll pull up Mr. Myers over here that we were just working through before. That's where we had created the opportunity from here at the beginning, but once we started that agreement, it's now a transaction. So if I need to work that deal, I need to get the signing, the paperwork created, I need to get that process started. I could click on that transaction from relationships, and I'm in Transact now. And I can continue to work through my deal where I need to manage my paperwork. I can access my forms library so I can be able to add in my forms, and as well manage the actual signing process where I can start collecting my documents to go ahead and get an e-sign packet put together.
If you're working with a buyer, let's say that you're working with a buyer and then it comes out that they have a property to sell and they want you to list it as well, would it be, because I'm guessing you wouldn't want to create two relationship opportunities from that to have them separately. Can you add a listing and a purchase in the relationship contact?
Absolutely. Let's look through that together too. So let's just say it's the same contact we were working just now, right? And let's say Mr. Myers over here in that same scenario, we were selling his home, but he also wants to buy somewhere else. We can start that same process. You can, and this is completely up to you and where, as the agent, how you want to start. You can start it as an opportunity, but
Hmm.
if it's already a done deal that he's going to work with you
Yeah.
to buy a home, then you don't need to start it an opportunity. Just go ahead and start a transaction from relationships, and that will let you go into that initial process of creating a transaction. You
Hmm.
can label it as purchase. We can import the listing data if we have that listing data available already. Let me just
And
borrow
does that
another one
show
of
up?
these.
That shows up as two different tiles in the deal tracker, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So when you'll see this here in a moment. So I pulled a different property. So he wants to buy in Ridgeview. The other one was a different property. So if we were to go back into the deal tracker, we're going to see two separate deals for Mr. Myers over here. We have a purchase and we have a listing labeled accordingly. But also, if we go back to his contact record in relationships, and this is really neat. When you go back to his contact in relationships, you're going to see two deals. Well, it should say purchase, shouldn't say
Yeah.
listing. This is labeling as the listing in that aspect, but when you click on it, the Ridgeview Road,
It's a
it'll bring your
purchase.
purchase transaction that you can manage as well.
Okay.
But that I'm actually going to feed back to our product team just to make sure that's distinct on the listing side. So it says purchase or listing, so it just makes it clear. But otherwise, yeah, you can you can make as many transactions as you need to. And what's really nice is whenever you're going into that transaction, let's say it's one of these transactions where there's lost deals and you needed to access those old records for any lost deals that you had. As soon as you open up the transaction, you have access to all that history that's tied to that transaction too within Transact. Um, so it's relatively a neat process that you can still see the transaction visibility from within your CRM, but also within your transaction system too.
I find that sometimes on the deal tracker, if I have a warm lead and I convert it to an active transaction, the relationship opportunity still stays on the as a warm because it's
Oh,
still marked as warm. It doesn't happen all the time, but more often than I would kind of expect it. Is there something that I'm doing wrong, or do I need to remove that, you know,
I've
the
experienced
warm?
well,
that too.
when you are in the warm lead like this one right now, are you starting the agreement from the opportunity or are you making a
Yes,
separate one?
I'm starting it from the opportunity, and
Mhm.
I would say half the time it will linger on the deal tracker like that.
Yeah, you're right.
Do I need to remove, like, put none for the status to remove it?
I think
I think when
that's a good question. Let
I
me
think it'll update, but I
may
think it
take a minute.
eventually updates, but it catches up, but I don't know the time frame.
Okay.
Just gonna add a property in just to see if the property triggers it to remove. So yeah, no, it's still showing in there. Let me just go to that contact in relationships and see if that's been converted. If not, that may just be a bug, and we can
Okay.
report that. That's not an issue. Um, Let me just go to Sophia Clark. There
I
we
wasn't sure if that
go.
was just error on my part.
No, that's a good call out. Thank you for bringing it up so we can share that. But yeah, it looks like the opportunity left the contact in relationships, and you can see that in the history. It says opportunity converted to transaction,
Okay.
and it said warm. Let me just jump back into transact really quick, and let's just see
Well, it's because the
if
type is
it
buyer, the
changed.
stage was searching, but it still said warm on the relationship, but now it's gone. Okay.
Yeah, now it's gone. So it may just need a minute
Okay.
for that to load from the if you're doing it from the deal tracker side of things and not from
Okay.
relationship directly. But it looks like too, I wanted to point this out. When you're in the deal tracker, if you needed to create a relationships opportunity, like let's say you wanted an opportunity added to your contact record, but you're in transacted, you don't want to keep going back and switching to relationships. Well, then do that right from here within the deal tracker. You could start that process immediately. You can search for your contact from your record list, or you can add that contact in, create a brand new one if you need to, and you can start generating that opportunity directly from here too. And at that point, once you add it in, it'll add that opportunity within your prospect list of warm prospects and hot prospects. So it just makes it easy for a workflow perspective if you already have the contact there, but you just want to get the opportunity started from here.
Fantastic. All right. I
Awesome. Any other questions?
think that's it for me. Um, does relationships have, I'm sorry if I missed this, if you already said this. Does the signings show up in their relationship details as well, correct?
It
Is
should
that
show the transaction specifically, but the signings are stored in the transaction. So if you
okay?
click the transaction, you should see your signings in the transaction itself.
So if I start a signing from outside of a transaction, there's nothing in the contact that's going to show details of it.
It's a good question. I'd have to test that
Okay.
specific workflow there for you, Jackson. But I can come back with an answer for you on that one specifically.
Because I did have a couple people, I have had several people ask me that over the last, since October, since when we launched this.
That Yeah, that's a good question. I don't see in the contact profile where the signing would be stored because
Okay.
typically you see the widget where it's again the task, the events,
Yeah.
the opportunities, and the transaction. So I know you can see it from the transaction. Um, I guess the bigger question would be, if it's not, then that can be an enhancement request so we can get updated to relationships so that if there is a signing tied to a contact, then we should be able to see that signing from the contact record too.
Okay.
But at the very least, if workflow purposes, if you start a transaction and start the signing in the transaction, that's connected to the contact record. So if
Okay.
you go from that workflow, you should definitely be able to have those two connected.
That's great.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'm gonna write that down really quick to send to our development team. So signings in relationships. That's one thing that's really awesome about our team too is if you guys have any feedback, you got cool ideas with having with what you want to see in relationships, don't be shy to tell us. We love to hear
Perfect.
it. We love hearing this all the time. We're all about innovating. We're all about taking in feedback from all customers and all folks that we support. So if you have any cool ideas, anything that you want to see better with either transact or relationships, let us know, and we can love to hear your perspective on it and see if we can get that enhancement taken care of on our roadmap.
All right. Thank you so much, Lucas. I appreciate you training us up.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. And again, if you guys have any questions or you need support, of course, the resource links are shared in our chat over here. But most importantly, you can always reach out to our training team. We'd be happy to support you if you need a guided walkthrough on anything that you're looking to figure out, whether it's relationships, Transact, even zip form, or any of the other Lone Wolf tools that you may be using. But again, thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure to work with you guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Jackson, do you or Leslie have anything else to add, or are we done with the session?
It looks like we only have two people left. If you
Yeah, we have a couple on our recording too, so I didn't know if there's any other added
okay,
information or
I was kind of expecting more questions about this because we don't do these trainings very often. Um, think that yeah, I think that's it. If there's nothing else, Lucas, I think we can
Yeah, I mean,
end the session.
I think oftentimes the questions come when you start using it, right? And
Yeah,
so, when in doubt, feel free to reach out to our team, or if Jackson, if you guys get any questions too, you can also reach out to our team. I'm going to follow up with you on that signing question, and there was the other question as well from the training regarding I'm trying to remember that specific piece of information, but I'll look back on our recording once I get it.
okay,
And yeah, make sure that we get those open-ended Q&As set up for you guys. But happy to support you if you have any questions or you need like a guided walkthrough on how to perform a particular task.
fantastic. I'll make sure that those questions get to you, Lucas.
Appreciate it. Absolutely.
okay, and then I have the training resources, links, and everything in the chat. We'll also include that with the recording that we send out to everyone. Should be available by end of day tomorrow. So even those who registered and didn't attend today, they will get that information with today's recording as well.
Excellent.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks,
Awesome.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.